Korea's southern port city of Busan is hosting its annual film festival with productions from around the world on screens there starting today, October 4th, until the 13th of this month. So what films are opening and closing this year's event? And what are the other screen works to keep an eye on? Also, who's on the lineup for this year's Actors House program? Welcome to Issues and Insiders. Curtains have gone up on this year's Busan International Film Festival, and for details on the event this year, I have film critic Kim Nemo here in the studio with me. Nemo, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Right, let's begin then with some basic details about the 28th, I believe, Busan International Film Festival, including its significance and scope, of course.
Right, well, film festivals have two main functions, and one is literally what it says, a celebration of cinema, where people gather together to celebrate the art of cinema. And the other role, which is also very important, is that of a marketplace where projects and investors are hopefully matched so that the project can come to fruition in the shape of a film. And in light of that, one of the main functions or roles of the Busan International Film Festival, which is also called BIFF for short, is finding cinematic talents and directorial talents and their works from across Asia and showcasing them to the rest of the world. And that includes films from South Korea. And throughout its history, and it's coming to be almost 30 years old now, the festival has showcased earlier works by Korean directors such as Ryu Seung-wan, Yoon Jong-bin, Im Sang-soo, Im Sun-ye, and Hong Sang-soo, just to name a few, as well as Asian directorial talents such as Jang Kun-jae of China and Jafar Panahi of Iran. They actually got funding in their earlier stage of career from the APM, which is part of the Busan International Film Festival. It stands for Asian Projects Market, and it's actually Asia's biggest marketplace where film projects and possible investors are matched. So another important role of the festival is to introduce to Korean audiences the best of what world cinema currently has to offer. And this year, they're screening the latest films from Alexander Payne, David Fincher, Yorgos Lanthimos, Ken Loach, and also from Europe, Michel Gondry and Catherine Breillat. And from Asia, we'll be getting the latest from Koreeda Hirokazu, Hamaguchi Ryusuke, and Zhang Lu. So there's been much talk about how the number of films has actually gone down compared to other years. So last year, the officially invited films, the number was 243, and this year it's down to 209. But I don't think the numbers actually show the whole picture, because it's not actually the number of films that makes a good film festival. It's actually it's all to do with the number of world premieres and international premieres the festival management manages to screen. So in that regard, I would say that this year's BIFF lineup looks pretty impressive.
Right, and before we talk about that actual lineup then, I understand in light of the festival's inner struggles and of course the resulting vacancies in leadership, Parasite actor Song Kang-ho will be hosting the event this year. Could you tell us a bit more about him?
Right. Well, the festival host functions as literally the face and the mouth of the festival throughout the festival period. And the role of the host begins with the red carpet event, you know, the fancy glitzy event at the beginning of the festival on the opening night. The host welcomes the guests, and he also welcomes everyone and bids them farewell on the closing night. And during the festival period, there are scores of events, receptions and other sidebar events where the host, which the host attends and gives speeches and also welcomes people from all aspects of the film industry. But, we're kind of like, as audience members, we tend to focus more on the well-known faces, such as the actors and the directors. But who's as important, if not more important at times are the people behind the scenes actually making major decisions within the industry. And those people include big name producers, VIP guests from major international film festivals such as Cannes, Berlin, and Venice, and so on. And Busan is one of the very few film festivals in Asia where the heads of these major film festivals are in attendance. And until recently, we're going to talk about the controversy in a minute, I'm sure, the role of the festival host was given to Mr. Kim Dong-ho, Mr. Lee Yong-kwan, and Mr. Jae Jun, all of whom founded the festival back in 1996. But with all three of them having left BIFF amid different kinds of difficulties. So this year we have Mr. Song Kang-ho. So he's been tasked with the role of the host. And, you know, as I mentioned, film festivals are not just a celebration of cinema, but it's also a very important place of business, showcasing the national cinema of Korea, of that particular country. And in that regard, a lot of importance is placed on hospitality. And that is why the role of the festival host plays a vital part. And I actually believe that the choice of Song Kang-ho as this year's festival host is an incredibly clever one on the part of the interim BIFF leadership, Nam Dong-cheol and Kang Seung-ha. Song is a world-renowned actor, one of the best recognized faces of Korean cinema, and he's also very familiar with how film festivals function, having experienced many major film festivals as a juror, as an acting talent, and so on. So I feel that he's very well suited to the role of the BIFF host this year.
Right, then all that being said, let's jump right into the actual lineup of the films for this year's event, which you called quite impressive. Do tell us a bit about the opening film, which I believe is titled Because I Hate Korea.
Right. The opening film, it's based on quite a popular novel by also a popular Korean novelist, Jang Kun-jae. It's directed by director Jang Kun-jae, who also directed A Midsummer's Fantasia back in 2014. I believe it received the Film Pressure Korea Award that year. Also received a lot of critical acclaim. And those two names already attract a lot of attention. And on top of that, the film stars Ko Ah-sung from The Host and Snowpiercer, so it's garnering a lot of excitement. The basic premise of the film is a young South Korean woman in her 20s, just up and leaving Korea to move to New Zealand. Because she hates Korea, right? And journalists and critics will only get to see this opening film in the late afternoon of the opening day. So we don't really have much of an idea about the film other than the 1.5 minutes of trailer that the festival put up online. And as for the reason why it was chosen as the opening film, I think the key word this year at BIFF is youth and the various issues and problems that young people, not just in Korea, but young people around the world are facing. And I've also noticed with the choices of MCs of the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony, as well as other events, the age seems to have gone down of the MCs and other important invited people. So I think that was kind of intentional on the part of the interim management. So in tandem with the management to bring in, the efforts to bring in younger blood, I think the opening film portrays themes of how young people around the world are feeling and what they're thinking about currently. And also the BIFF Korean cinema programmer Chung Han-seok, he has praised the film for its cinematic beauty, and that's something that you're not going to get from the novel. Right,
I see. And I was wondering, Nemo, do we have youth as the echoing theme in the closing film, which I believe is the movie Emperor, of course?
It might be quite the opposite, which I think is a nice contrast. The closing film, as you mentioned, is called The Movie Emperor. You can kind of tell that it's not really focusing on youth from the title. It's by director Ning Hao. It's not going to be a world premiere, though. It's going to be an international premiere, I believe, and it'll be Ning Hao's second Busan International Film Festival closing film. He had a closing film back in 2006. It was called Crazy Stone. But at that time, director Ning Hao was an up-and-coming Chinese director. Now he's a big name in China and in Hong Kong, not just as a director, but also as a producer. Now, about the film itself, it stars Andy Lau, and we all love him, right? And he plays a star actor, and he fails to get an award locally in Hong Kong. So he's really desperate to get an award at a foreign, major, big international film festival. And to try and achieve that, he intentionally appears in kind of like an agricultural film set in the countryside. But because of his arrogance, being a star performer, things do not go well. So we only have like 15 seconds worth of trailer put up by the festival online. So we'll just have to wait
and see, of course.
Yes,
then.
But
and
it sounds very exciting.
Aside from the opener and the closer, then Nemo, what other screen productions should we keep our eyes on? Do you think?
Well, it's always exciting at Busan to watch all of the films in the major competition section, which is the new current section, and try to predict which two films will go home with the major awards, which is like the main awards of the festival. The new current section gives awards to two films by two Asian directors, and the films have to be either their first or second film. So the new current section functions as a gateway for up-and-coming Asian directorial talents for future international success. And we've had a lot of big Asian directorial names who are very big now, having gone through this process of, having had their films in the new currents section. And there are other currents kind of like attached to the section, such as the Fifth Pressure Award and the NetPAC Award and so on. And this year there will be 10 films, 9 of which will be world premieres. And I'm especially looking forward to watching September 1923, 1923. It's a Japanese film. It's about the Great Kanto earthquake and how rumors about Koreans led to the massacre of thousands of Koreans. And it's quite interesting because it's by a Japanese director, Mori Tatsuya. So that's one of the films that many people are dying to see. We also have in the wide angle section, which showcases documentaries, and there's a documentary called Dear Jinri. Now, Chae Jin-lee is the real name of the Korean idol and celebrity Seol-lee, who took her own life back in 2019 at the age of 25. And director Chung Yun-seok, in his documentary, delves into the materials, including the last interview with her, and to try and show the audiences who she really was.
Right, that's a very sad story, right there, personally, of course. Nemo, I understand Busan this year also has its best ever lineup of stars for the Actors House program. For those of us unfamiliar with that, could you tell us a bit about the program? And do tell us about the lineup as well.
Right, well, the Actors House section is pretty new. It was first set up only 2 years ago, back in 2021, and it's literally how it sounds. It's a section that showcases actors, iconic actors, and they do this by having the actors engage in in-depth conversations about their life and about their career. And so far, the actors that have been featured in the Actors House program include Korean actors Cho Jin-woong, Jung-hwa, Han Ye-ri, and Lee Jae-hoon. And this year, we'll be able to see Yoon Ye-jung of Minari and Pachinko, of course, And Han Hyo-ju, do you remember that wonderful film from a few years ago, The Beauty Inside? She'll be there talking about her latest work in moving. And we're also going to have Song Joong-ki this year, as well as the Korean-American actor John Cho discussing his latest work.
How do you explain, Nemo, the popularity of the Busan International Film Festival?
That's a mystery, many industry insiders say. But I think if you kind of delve into it a little bit further, there's deep love and affection from the Korean audiences for non-commercial, non-blockbuster films. And I think that's totally undeniable. And the festival offers opportunities to see directors and actors talking in depth about their work in the flesh, which is always very exciting. I know the festival management and staff, they work incredibly hard to arrange all these after-screening events, which are called guest visits, GVs. And on the industry side, there are opportunities for up-and-coming directors and producers to try and get investors and funding, not only domestically, but also internationally. And having been to different film festivals in different parts of the world, I can also attest to the fact that BIFF festival volunteers, they are the best in the whole world. I think you can actually feel all the volunteers' affection for cinema and the film festival itself. So I think those may be the keys to success.
Also, staying with the industry, but beyond national boundaries, Nemo, I understand Hollywood actors and writers, they have been on strike since this past summer and spring, respectively. Is this particular reality affecting the Busan International Film Festival this year?
Right. You're talking about the special program in focus, the Korean diasporic cinema, right? And they are screening 6 films, including talk sessions that includes talks with Yoon Yo-jung, Lee Isaac-chung, director of Oscar-winning Minari, John Cho, who we mentioned when we talked about the Actors House of Star Trek and Searching. And we're also going to have fan events with director Justin Chan and actor Steve Yeun and Yoo Tae-oh, and also Christina Oh. We got an email from BIFF the other day about this situation that, you know, due to the strike by SAG, Screen Actors Guild, actors are subject to certain restrictions when they take part in foreign film festivals, which Busan is one. We also, the email also said that actors John Cho and Stephen Yeun won't be available to participate in after-screening talks. But audiences will be able to enjoy some exceptions to the strike regulations. Stephen Yeun will be allowed to interact and discuss Burning, because Burning was a Korean production. And similarly, Past Lives, directed by Celine Song, it had partial backing from Korea's CJ E&M. So that film also received a waiver from SAG. So actors will be able to discuss those films. And I think it'll be a chance to raise awareness among Korean audiences and industry insiders about what's going on stateside regarding the writers' strike. And maybe it'll offer a chance to forge some level of solidarity with them, and also it might function as a chance for us, for our industry to kind of look at our own situation here in Korea, because in Korea also we have this huge pay disparity affecting writers.
And keeping that in mind, Nemo, what do you suppose can be done to allow for perhaps productive advances in any country's film industry?
Right, that's a difficult question. I think the key elements there is nurturing diversity through all the various stages of movie making down to the screening stage. A lot of well-known directors we have nowadays started out their careers as a film director of an indie film, including big names such as Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook, right? So the ability to recognize talent in up-and-coming directors is, I think, vital. And the financial support given to those new directorial talents is also paramount, I think, for a country's film industry to advance successfully. And this means not only the financial support, but also to get movies to be distributed and released successfully. And also the ability to recognize talent and give encouragement to directors and actors who are choosing to struggle to make good indie films without the help of major big companies is vital, I think. And the awards session began last month in Korea with the Yangpyeong Awards given out by the Korean Critics Association. And it's noticeable that the awards for Best Film, Best Director, Best Actress, as well as Best Supporting Actress all went to indie films. And I think it's encouraging to see well-known acting talents such as Kim So-hyung, do you remember her from Sky Castle? And Lee Yoon-ji from the popular Dream High series. They chose to play roles in these indie films, and they all got these the awards that I just mentioned. For Kim So-hyung for Greenhouse and Lee Yoon-ji for Dream Palace. So I think working hard to foster those directorial and producing and acting talents is vital.
Right, I love Kim So-hyung. I understand I have a little bit of a similarity with her, some people say.
Do.
Thank you so much. And here's another difficult question.
Charisma.
Right. Here's another difficult question. Nemo, are there any ways for Busan, perhaps, to sharpen its edge over the global competition in terms of film festivals?
Well, I think Busan has done pretty well so far, don't you think? It's the youngest festival out of the three main Asian ones, Tokyo and Hong Kong being the other two. But it's grown to be one of the most exciting film events in Asia. But in order to try and sharpen its edge in terms of global competition, maybe trying to make it a little bit more international, a little bit more cosmopolitan while keeping its Koreanness would be a great advantage, I think, in my opinion. So, for example, just to give you a small example, the festival website is quite well known among foreign critics and journalists for its kind of slightly stilted sounding English language version and so on. So those things, you know, a little tweaks here and there may be quite useful. As for local politics affecting the festival, you know, the controversy affecting BIFF this year, you know, it didn't have to do with local politics, but other alleged situations like cronyism and sexual harassment situations. And the current Busan mayor, Park Hyung-jun, he has so far left the festival to do its work. And I know from talking to many people in Busan, ordinary citizens, that they absolutely cherish the event. And I think over the years, you know, political controversies such as the whole Diving Bell documentary situation, through all these controversies, I think the people of Busan have matured along with the festival itself. So I think it is now mostly up to the BIFF leadership and management to keep the festival free of further controversy.
Right, and I suppose on that note, then we'll end this particular talk. Thank you so much, Nemo, for your time and your thoughts today.
Thank you for having me.
Right, well, for those of you who have yet to make plans for this weekend, a trip to Busan may be one option. Thank you for watching. Have a good time.